In today's Leeds United news, West Ham issues for Leeds United trip, Hannibal under police investigation, Leeds told to go back to the drawing board, rumour mill on Issouf Sissokho, and the wrong time to talk managerial changes. Morning folks, welcome to the Leeds View, Tuesday morning, the 21st of October with your Leeds news. Hope your week's going well so far. A bit of stuff to get stuck into tonight. Under 21s are in action tonight in the EPL2, as well as we will have a podcast out tonight, probably in around the same time, 7 o'clock tonight, having a little bit of a look back on the Burnley game, but looking ahead also to the weekend's game against West Ham United. A lot of talk about that game and how important that game could be for both sides heading into that match, as well as a lot of talk today and yesterday around Daniel Farke's future at the club. And there are different decisions and different opinions on this one depending on what way you look, and we'll cover both of them together to give everyone the balanced view on this. But we'll get stuck into today's news, and we'll start off with the West Ham trip, and they have their own set of issues coming in to Elland Road on Friday. Leeds take on West Ham on Friday night at Elland Road, and although a lot of fans, me included, feel that this is a must-win game for Leeds United, Daniel Farke will likely tell us that it's not. But for West Ham, this is starting to look very much like a must-win game for them. Nuno Espirito Santo commented on the team's anxiety coming out after their defeat to Brentford last night, and that win lifts Brentford up to 13th place in the table, and as a result of that drops Leeds United down to 16th. But a win for West Ham at the weekend would see them go within 1 point of Leeds United, but a win for Leeds would see Leeds open a nice comfortable gap between themselves and the bottom three sides. West Ham's issues are slightly deeper than Leeds United's injury concerns heading into this game, and on that topic, Nuno Espirito Santo had the following to say. I think we're all concerned. You can see that our fans are concerned. Concern becomes anxiety. That becomes silence. That anxiety passes to the players. We have a problem. It's up to us to change it. In 4 days' time, we need a big improvement. Leeds United will also be looking for some improvements heading into that game at Elland Road, and 1 point from Leeds' last 3 games will keep a spotlight on the team's performances for now at least. But a win on Friday night would see Leeds, at least at the very minimum, get Elland Road back to being a bit of a fortress and a tough place for opposition teams to come and play, especially after the defeat to Spurs. But it's early in the season, but you do get a feeling that this game and the Nottingham Forest one will be very important matches for where Leeds United will end up come the end of this season. We'll have a bit more detail on that as we go through today's news. But we'll move on. We'll talk about a police investigation. Burnley's Hannibal Mejbri is in hot water yet again, which is nothing new after a Leeds United game. Mejbri last season was seen antagonising Leeds United fans after being substituted in their game, a decision that got him in a fair amount of trouble with the EFL at that point in time. But after this week's game against Leeds United, Mejbri might be in a hell of a lot more hot water than usual. Lancashire police have confirmed that they have opened an investigation to an alleged incident that took place in the game against Burnley into Hannibal Mejbri, but the Football Association have also confirmed that they too have opened an investigation into what they've labelled as an alleged spitting incident at Leeds United fans during Saturday's game. Lancashire police have confirmed to the Daily Mail that them, along with the FA, are investigating the situation, and a police statement on the topic said the following. Police are aware of an alleged incident involving a Burnley player during the second half of the Premier League game between Burnley and Leeds United at Turf Moor. We are currently working with Burnley Football Club to establish the facts. The FA, as you can expect in this situation, have decided to decline to make any further comment on the topic until the investigation has taken place. And on a personal note, I think whatever you do to a fan, whatever abuse you get, spitting on somebody in any walk of life is one of the lowest things that you can possibly do. It's one of the only incidents in my football career when I got spat on in a match that a manager said to me he would have had no problem when we punching the fella who had spat on me. So it's one of the, it's disgusting. It's disgusting behaviour, it really is. But he'll likely get the book thrown at him by the FA, if nothing else, for that situation. He could be in for a lengthy ban from them. But again, if the police decide to go further with that, he could be in a lot more trouble. But you get what you give out. We'll move on though. Let's talk about Leeds going back to the drawing board. As you can imagine, every single pundit has their opinion on Leeds United after the last 3 games, and Simon Jordan has also weighed in on the topic, but he has stopped short of following other pundits who have condemned Leeds to relegation already after just 8 games. But he does believe that Leeds United and Daniel Farke need to go back to the drawing board. It's something we've talked an awful lot about over the last couple of weeks, the fact that Leeds United's performances of the last 3 games aren't the same as what they were against Everton, Newcastle. That aggression, that intensity that was there from Leeds has seemed to have waned a little little bit in the last couple of games as Leeds have started to ship goals. But on the topic, Simon Jordan had the following to say. Leeds and Burnley are amongst it at the moment. They have 2 or 3 Premier League sides who are not performing to a high level. And the Wolves and the West Hams of the world are not performing at a high level. And so they've allowed the Championship sides who have come up to look better. While Forest, West Ham and Wolves continue to struggle, Leeds could still have opportunities to make life a little bit more comfortable for them. A win at the weekend, beat Nottingham Forest, they're coming up in this next block of 3 games, and that could very easily then take a lot of pressure off Leeds United and Daniel Farke going into the international break, and something Leeds would very much want to make sure that they can do. There will be a ton of pundits who would like to see Leeds United out of the top flight. They've already started talking about it. We're not covering the usuals. We know what they're going to say, and you know exactly who I'm talking about, ex-Aston Villa people. But Leeds will need to sort out a couple of bits and pieces, and the very, very least over the next couple of games, Leeds will need to sort out what's going in to the back of their net, and then hopefully try and address some of the issues in front of their goal themselves. But there are some statistics and data on that are some promising, some less so. We'll get to them in a couple of seconds, but we'll move on and talk about Rumour Mill, and this is very much pinch of salt territory that you can decide yourself what you think. According to reports floating around today, Leeds United are said to have some interest in Issouf Sissokho, but it could be a difficult deal to get done should these reports have absolutely any truth to them, which I'm not 100% convinced of. According to a report coming from Africa Foot, who've got a reasonably decent track record, they claim the Leeds have targeted the Malayan international midfielder as a player of interest. But Sissoko currently plays for Maccabi Tel Aviv, a club with their own set of issues right now. But if Leeds were interested in bringing the Mali midfielder into the club, it might be slightly more difficult than they might think. From a non-UK and non-Irish player to be eligible to play in England, the club must apply for an international sports person visa, which is based on the UK's points-based system. And under that framework, a player is given qualification if they have played specific percentage of matches for a top 50 ranked side in the past 2 years. Sissoko currently has got 6 caps for Mali under 20 side and has yet to make his international full debut, which means any hope of getting a work permit or a visa to play in the UK will be incredibly unlikely. It would make a move for the player with a lot of potential. He is a player that is rated very highly as having a very high ceiling, but it would make any chance of getting him very, very difficult. And Leeds you would imagine Leeds have got some firmer, probably easier to do targets on their shortlist, assuming that there's any midfielders on their shortlist right now. Leeds have got an abundance of midfield options, probably lacking an out-and-out attacking midfielder as such. Go back to that number 10 position as well. But yeah, this one seems unlikely because of the red tape that would be involved in getting this one done. So yeah, we'll move on. And let's start with Daniel Farke. And as was expected with a poor run of results, it was likely to see a portion of the fan base call for managerial change, but the timing might be premature and just the wrong time to do anything like that. And that's according to BBC pundit Aidy White. Leeds have now lost 50% of their Premier League matches so far this season, and there is some level of concern, but given the Leeds have more possession, more shots, and have outplayed a lot of the teams they've played this season, it could be too early to consider ripping it all up and starting again. Leeds are currently ranked as the worst side in the Premier League for converting big chances, but the fact that Leeds United are creating so many big chances should be a positive to Leeds United fans. The manager will come under pressure though if he continues to pick the players that are missing those big chances. But if we're going to point to statistics in games to find positives in matches, as a lot of fan base have done in recent days, then we've got to look at all the statistics fairly to make a decision. According to Opta's latest predictions, based on the league statistics in full, they've given Leeds United a 44% chance of being relegated this season, and they predicted a final points tally for Leeds of 37 points, which might make this all a little bit more uncomfortable coming to that end of the season period. But BBC's Aidy White believes that any talk of sacking Daniel Farke, specifically at this time of the season, is premature and could cause more problems than it fixed. And on the topic, he said this: I don't think changing the manager in this period over the next 3 or 4 games is wise. This is an important period. I don't think it's the right thing to do. If he doesn't do well in this period, then a huge decision will need to be made. But given the nature of the Premier League and the absolute necessity for Leeds United to stay in this league, it's understandable people will think change could sort out a lot of the issues. But Daniel Farke could very easily turn things around in the next 3 games. As we say, he's got West Ham and Forest who are below Leeds, as well as a difficult trip to Brighton, which is always tough for Leeds historically. But in those next 3 games, if Leeds can pick up a decent number of points, then you could go into the international break in a much more comfortable position. But you get the feeling that these next 3 games and that 2-week break for the international period will be a decisive period for Leeds, at least first half season, if not the overall picture come the end of the year. But coming out of the international break, Leeds will go into an incredibly difficult run of games, and what Leeds will need at that point will be direction, calmness, and a bit of understanding in order to navigate that period and put themselves in a much more comfortable position. But if the Leeds don't get positive results in the next 3 games, then Daniel Farke's position will likely get more and more scrutiny and become a much bigger talking point. And as Aidy White says, big decisions may need to be made should we not come out of those games with positive results. But we have to wait and see. There's still opportunities there. Will Daniel Farke stick with the same 11? Will he make changes? We'll have to wait and see. We'll talk about it tonight on the podcast, 7 o'clock. Myself, Paul, Jerry. You can check us out later on. Outside of that, enjoy the rest of your day. I will talk to you soon. Be good. See you. Bye.